which marks officially the essential end of Chrysler, all of Stellantis essentially. The Charger and Challenger are gone, right? Everyone's upset about that, but something I'm more upset about is the small car extinction. This was happening silently, so quietly, murmuring that you didn't even hear it. Now, you may have heard about the Mirage being extinct, right? The Mirage is it's a small car, right? Some car people may have just said, oh, the Mirage was a car trapped in time, couldn't keep up with the modern cars, and that's why it's, out. Oh, well, just couldn't keep up with the modern day traffic, But it wasn't just the Mirage. In fact, the Nissan Versa's, the other car, the only other option, is also being canceled in 2024 and being not replaced, right? The Mitsubishi Mirage, there's not going to be a new sedan that comes out to replace it. No. The Versa, there's not going to be a new sedan to replace it. Not at all. We also have the Kia Rio. The Kia Rio, as of this year, yes, they were still making it unofficially. It's gone. The Kia Rio's gone, which means the only three somewhat, except for the Kia, somewhat reliable cars left are all now gone this year. You cannot buy any of these models brand new from the manufacturer in a couple months. You won't be able to. And that is terrible. And it all begins with this, I don't want to call it an American idea because people like to pretend that it is, but it's actually all over the world. Humans want bigger and bigger and bigger things, right? We always want bigger, right? That's always what we want, right? Bigger, better, stronger, faster. And at the same time as that's happening, we have a new revolution where the government is mandating EVs. I think EVs have their place, but again, these are not economy cars, and they have skyrocketed the price of the average new car. You may have wondered, how did the average price of a new car get so high? In 2016, it went up by about $10,000 when EVs finally started to take off, and then in 2022, it reached one of its all-time highs ever with Tesla releasing more models and selling more vehicles. EVs are the reason why the average price of the new car has skyrocketed up. It's not because the average car is getting more expensive, it's because we have more EVs now. In fact, again, I'm going to make an entire video on this. 25%, right, of Audis, their entire lineup is EVs. If you look at it, they have about 16 models in all, and about 4 of those are EVs. That's about 25%, right? Perfect. Wait, again, that might not be accurate numbers for how many models they have. I was using the 2023 thing. Anyway, 25% of their entire lineup, and again, I'm not counting different styles like fastback and normal, I'm just talking e-tron, A4, the standard. 25% of those are EVs, and yet EVs only accounted for 10% of their sales last year. So we're seeing car companies like Audi, Volvo, other car companies like that, especially Tesla, having, replacing their gas cars with EVs. Like, again, with Audi replacing 10%, 25% of their lineup with EVs and only getting 10% of their sales from that. They're pushing stuff that we don't want. It used to be, if a car company makes a car that you don't like, they go bankrupt, right? The consumer doesn't like, the consumer can't afford it, they go bankrupt. But because of government subsidies and people feeling like they're doing the right thing in marketing, people, number one, are buying cars that they usually can't afford. More people are taking out loans. Less people are buying cars with cash. More people are having to buy used. Again, you used to be able to just buy a cheap, normal, everyday, reliable car, and now your only option is to go used. That's scary. That's ridiculous. They've been pulling the rug on you the entire time. Audi is replacing their lineup with cars that people don't want. Again, 25% of their lineup for only 10% of their sales. That's ridiculous. That's a 15% discrepancy in the worst way possible. If it was 25% of their sales and 10% of their lineup, that's understandable. That's fine, right? But when demand is pretty much low for all these e-tron models, and yet they keep making them, that's bad. Again, they're forcing EVs on us. Again, California is banning regular gas cars. And the worst part about it is EVs aren't even the answer. They're not even good for the environment. Lithium-ion batteries emit almost as much as a Toyota Corolla does in like a year, right? Not to mention the entire time you charge your, EV, 80% of that power that's coming out of that is from non-renewable resources, if not 100%, depending on where you live. This pretending like EVs are the answer and sticking our head in the ground is ridiculous. In some countries that have completely green power, or at least mostly green power, like, Norway, Denmark, EVs are fine there, right? But you cannot make that same argument in the US. And remember, EVs are bringing the average price of the new car up, and it would be fine, right? If EVs were just existing and small cars were fine, that'd be fine. But no, people are being forced to buy used because the smaller cars that people can actually afford, the $16,000 affordable models are all being discontinued. And if you look deeper into it, right, a lot of people, the company will tell you it's because of losing sales, right? But actually, a lot of these cars aren't losing sales because people don't want them. They're losing sales because the car company, EA, either has a bad reputation for not selling good, reliable cars, B, the cars are just garbage made poorly, like the Versa and Rio, and C, haven't been redesigned in 10 years, like the Mirage. They're discontinuing these models as of reasons that don't make sense. People still will always need cheap, reliable transportation. And just because the company, doesn't make their engines that well, their CVTs make the car blow up, their wiring sets it on fire, that's why they're discontinuing the model, not because people don't still need good transportation, right? And I'm just going to bring this, to your visual a little bit. It's 1999. You can buy the Corolla. You can buy the Camry. Hell, you can even buy a Tercel. These are both cheap cars, right? The Corolla is this small little runt. It's easy around town. It gets great gas mileage. It comes in a two-door. It's just a fun, nice, simple, light car. Not bad at all. The Toyota Corolla. Nice, light, bland beige. It'll take you to work every day. That's pretty much all it does. And nowadays, when you look in the Tercel, when you look, the Civic is bigger than the Accord at the time. The Corolla, again, Toyota's kept it pretty small, but you have to admit the Corolla is more bigger than it was the previous day because, again, we want things better, faster, stronger, overall. The Corolla is huge. I mean, look at it. It's like the size of an Avalon at that area. And this all isn't just because of safety. Look at Volvos from the 90s. Some of those are still one of the most safe vehicles ever, and yet they're still weedy, right? This bigness isn't caused because of safety technology. Again, some of it is about 20% or 50. I'd say it's somewhere between 20 and 50% of that sizing is because of safety measures. But on the contrary, we can look at the Mirage. This passed almost every single safety test. It's one of the most deadliest cars on the road. That's just because a lot of people bought them, And they are smaller. Keep that in mind. But we can still build small, safe cars that meet up to the requirements, which means that making these cars gigantic had nothing to do with the size requirements. They could have kept the Corolla, sized it up a little bit. Oop, home screen. They could have just sized it up just a little bit, just a tiny little bit just to meet the safety requirements, and they would have been fine. And yet, no, we're seeing the Civic get gigantic, the Rolla get gigantic, and again, that's fine when it's replaced. I'll give you an example. This is the 2010 Toyota RAV4, one of the most reliable SUVs you could buy on the planet. You can see it's frail, right? It's a little bit runty. It's off the ground. It's really nice. But around 2015 through 2019, it got a real heavy. See, look at this. These are not the same vehicle. This is a nice little fun, light weekend vehicle, and this looks more like a Sequoia or 4Runner from the same time, just because it's so beefy. And I have no problem with that. Why? Because Toyota thought about it, and they came up with the Corolla Cross. The Corolla Cross is essentially the embodiment of that nicer, lighter, go-getter SUV, right? We have a replacement. As long as we have a replacement in that sector, that's fine. But overall, we're just seeing the erasement of these small cars with no replacement. There's no replacement for these. Now, you may say something like the Nissan Kicks, right? Or the Venue. Number one, these are extremely more expensive than any of the other cars. I mean, this one starts at $19,000, not $16,000, right? Not $16,000 like the Kia did. This new Kicks starts at $21,000, not the $16,000 that the Versa started at. Number one, these are not direct successors because number one, they're more expensive. Number two, they're not as, they're just built cheaper and cheaper. And number three, the only reason why these exist, right? These existed. The Mirage exists. The Versa used to exist. And the Kia used to exist just for cheap, reliable transportation. This exists to get people who want an SUV but can't afford it. And then they're just saying, for their entire rest of their fan base that bought these cheap, reliable cars, screw off. Go to hell. I mean, we've seen the Kia Fart. Remember the Kia Fart? It came out in like 2008, 2009. You want to know what? It's always been discrepancy. I always thought it came out like 2008, 2009. What if it like secretly came out in the 90s and I don't know about that? Sorry. I am not very, I'm not a Kia person, right? I know everything about Toyota. I know the entire lineup and how long it's existed roughly for Kia. That's also gotten bigger. The Rio is essentially just, the Forte, but 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Yeah, no. It's just so sad to see these small cars be extinct, and your only option is to buy used. Same with Toyota. We haven't had a Yaris in forever. It's like Lego. I remember, what's that channel that makes you with all the ads? Business Insider. They made a video on the Lego thing, which is fun because I watch their videos sometime just for entertainment. Wow, this is a very terrible UI system. Anyway, see, look, they can both be on the screen and say, wow, that's awful. Anyway, Business Insider made an ad, not an ad, but a documentary, mini documentary, I would call it, on Lego. And how they ignored their, adult fan base for much of their life. That's exactly what these car companies are doing. They're telling you, just buy a used car, right? They're making the new car out of reach for most people. Remember, in the 90s, the thousands, you could just buy a new car. You could walk up to a dealership, say, hey, I want something new and I want something cheap. This is what you got. They were perfectly good, reliable vehicles. And now your only option is SUVs. Remember, they've been cutting sedans out of their lineup forever, which again are cheaper than SUVs. It's just ridiculous. So with that, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And this is just so frustrating, just to see car companies blatantly ripping people off and canceling models that people still care about, just like that. They don't even care. It's absolutely ridiculous. I know I'm mad. I'm Scotty Kilmer now. Yeah, sad day for Scotty Kilmer viewers. I love how he always uses the same thumbnail for all the. Anyway, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys soon.